Good morning. We are here on Dean and Loppie's Peg. Carp International at the Nyl. Israel versus South Africa for all the new viewers. If you haven't caught up with all our lives and if you haven't seen everything that has been happening, go back to our earlier YouTube as well as Facebook posts. You can go and look at the results. You can catch up with the lives. You can get all the action. You can catch all the action, and this media coverage is brought to you by FK Specimen for today, and these guys have caught up to 540 kilograms up to now. They are very busy, they are very tired. It is difficult to keep on working hard like this, so we're just going to stand here, watch them a little bit. If there's a chance, we'll talk to them. I spoke to Dean a little bit earlier. He said during the night they were onto the right gradient in terms of getting to a ton, but now it's getting touch and go because the morning, the late part of last night didn't go as planned. The whole lake shut down a bit. Everybody caught less. Some of the other pegs are also close to 500 kilograms, so we're just going to watch and see how they work these fish. You will see that they've got different distances that they are fishing. They are catching nice fish, some small ones, but the bigger ones are coming in between. So let's just watch for a while how they are doing and enjoy it with us today. You'll see a lot of fish feeding on the surface there. They've specifically worked that spot to get them to the surface. They caught a nice fish on that spot. Unfortunately, the cast that was supposed to go there was not a good one. There's a fish. And the line snapped, so they lost that one. They didn't cast it on the spot, which puts it under pressure, and the new rig has to be built now. But in the meantime, this shorter line is really producing well. Good rate, good tempo. Quality isn't bad. And note how he works that spot. Every time catch a fish or two, and all the rods are in, 1 or 2 catapults of pellets goes in again. Works that all the time. The short line is producing lots of fish, some smaller, but every now and then there's a bumper in between, which makes it very productive. The fish that are really on the surface there now is a good target for now, and so there's a lot of pressure on getting that line back in. They are working hard with that line that snapped to get it back rigged up. It's not an easy thing to have another zig rig just prepared and ready, and that's what they're working on now. Beautiful little birds. Okay, so the zig rig line is back in. Took a few minutes out, but it's back on. Lapis is feeding those pellets for the top water there. We've seen last night when we spoke to Dean, he explained the different types of pellets that they were using, and one of them are those floating pellets which they are feeding at the back. With the zig rig, I'm not too sure exactly what the depth is that they are fishing, but the principle is fishing that specific bait subsurface, and it might be half a meter or somewhere in between there, but then the pellets are fed on top with some sinking pellets and other floating pellets to keep the fish there. You can do that very effectively when there's not a lot of wind blowing, because that top water baits will lie there for a longer period of time. The moment the wind starts blowing and you do that, you take them off your spot. You need to then continuously feed them. But at this stage, there's a short line. Again, already some bites. See how he feeds the pellets in the short line. Keep the fish there continuously. There's the line going. You're going to see that rod going just now. There it is. That's the bite. Fish on. That is one of the things about fishing in close. That was a non-weigher. So a smaller fish, you need to weigh 1.5 kilograms per fish to count as a fish. So that one is a non-weigher. Working through those small ones is really worthwhile because they come in quicker, and the way that they're targeting them is keeping the fish there. A lot of activity by the small fish also get the larger fish to come in. So every now and then there's a big fish coming out in between them. To our viewers, if you have any specific questions that for us or some of the competitors, let them come in. Some comments, some suggestions, anything you want to see or not want to see, let those comments come in and we bring you as much as possible. There's a question about the weight, specifically if you are allowed to drop the weight. But in this competitive carp facet, the idea is not to drop the weight. So no, it must be a safe rig. That means if the line breaks off, the weight system or the lead system must be able to release so that the rig can come out of that. But no, you're not allowed to fish a drop off weight in this competition. Now, isn't that good action? Isn't that good action? See the short line? Oh, there's a fish on the zig as well. See the line going. Left hand rod with a zig rig. How about a bit of chaos on a peg? The only thing we need now is the fourth rod to go. Interesting how these guys perform under pressure. They are so well trained, well versed, well skilled. But fatigue is something that responds in everybody differently. So you need to keep focus. See how well Lapis did that. The fish went over that line, came back in under, and again over and under. So it keeps on swimming around the line. So you need to manage that all the time. Nice fish from Dean. Also a nice weigher. And Lapis managed to get that one off. Still see the tension, how the line is moving on the fish with the zig rig. There's some questions on the zig rig. If you go back into one of the lives of yesterday afternoon, especially with Saki and Christu, they've explained the zig rig quite well. But in short, a zig rig is a long hook length, so the sinker, the lead system will be on the bottom, and there might be a meter and a half, even 2 meters, depends on the depth of the water, that the hook length is then extending. So it's a long hook length. You're fishing a floating bait then, so that hook picks up. It also means you need to fish a lighter hook with a floating bait, either a bit of foam or a pop-up or something like that. There's a specific zig component or a zig bait, normally foam. So it's normally 1 or 2 pieces of high density foam that lifts it right up to as far as that hook length takes it. So the principle of the zig rig then is to catch the fish that are fishing or that are feeding up in the water, either somewhere submerging or suspending between in the top layer of the water, or right on the surface. Now you can fish the zig rig on the surface, but normally they fish it below the surface with various of distances. So it can be like half a meter under, 300 under, just subsurface, and then they feed a floating pellet as well as a sinking pellet mix, which keeps the fish in the area on the top water with the floating pellets, and then the pellets that are sinking slowly, the fish follow them down, and then they are intercepted with the hook bait somewhere in mid water. There is also a question about the points. How does the score sheet work? There are 4 different zones. 1 peg per team per zone. So in the A zone, on the other side of the dam, that would be Saki and them, Saki and Christu on the first peg, and there's another fish, and Roman with his peg mate on the other zone. So those 2 are competing against each other. Whoever has the most weight, and it is only weight that counts, the amount of fish doesn't matter, it's only weight. Whoever wins that zone gets 1 penalty point. It's like getting that placement. So first in the zone gets 1 point, second in the zone gets 2 points. The totals are then added up. So let's say at this stage in A zone, South Africa is leading, so they've got 1 point, Israel 2. In B zone, South Africa is leading, they have 1 point, Israel 2. In C zone, Israel is leading, they have 1 point, and South Africa has 2 points. In D zone, South Africa is leading 1 point, and Israel 2 points for being second. That means South Africa has got 3 1s and a 2, gives them 5 points. Israel has 3 2s and a 1, gives them 7 points. You're on C zone. So in C zone, Israel passed South Africa, and they have been going back and forth for quite a while. It's a bit of a cat and mouse. Then South Africa's ahead, then Israel, so they are neck and neck, only about 10 or 12 kilograms separating them. See how difficult it is with the zig rig to land it, because there's like 1.5 meter hook length. So the sinker system is right up in the air, difficult to control. Also put some pressure on the hook hold, and because you need a lighter hook, it is smaller.
Suppose I can take one. Headlamp off, eh?
The sun is up.
Yeah, sun is up.
Now just imagine casting with that long hook length. So what Dean does, he puts it down on the floor. That's why it's quite important that you have a very neat lay of, let's call it a mat, or here they use shade netting, but a very fine shade netting, so you want that smooth surface. So you can put it down. The other method is that the pegmate holds it in his hand without getting the hook in his hand, just between his fingers, and you actually cast it out of his hand. Okay, now you'll see what has happened there. You put the zig rig back in its place on the mark. That rod is marked on the line to the exact distance at which the spom is clipped in. There it is, it's already on. The one that Dean just cast, see how he drops it back, which means that's it. See how quick that was, very effective. Okay, and that one didn't set. What makes it more difficult is the fact that that fish is 1.5 meters away from the lead system. So when it picks it up, it sets the hook, but it's not always an exact science. The success rate of a zig hookup versus a bottom bait hookup is less. And the more effective you can execute that, the more result you will get. It might have been too quick, but that's where he puts it right down. Let's see if we can see the fish on the surface again. Now that bite didn't take a minute. You can see the movement on the top water, and that's exactly where that zig is lying. And yeah, and the zig. 3 of them. Yeah, the other line is running. A lot of bites on the zigs. The hookup rate not as good, because it's a very difficult technique to get 100% hookup rate. To all our viewers, you're welcome to ask questions, leave comments, give suggestions, and another fish on. Just landed one, missed one, 4 rods running within a minute of each other. So any suggestions, any comments, any questions, leave them. Let's see how we can service your needs the best. We would also like to thank our media partners for this event. For today, FK Specimen. Thank you for being on board, making it possible for our viewers. Just on the peg arrived the captain of the South African team, Carl. It is your babies here, it is your backyard. Are you happy with your team?
Well, we are thankful so far, Vander. The fish has been looking after the guys, they've been catching. But one thing we did see is you can always plan and make many plans, and then the venue just shows you don't know everything and you have to adapt, looking after the conditions, and then as soon as you do adapt and adapt in the correct manner, it can go better again. Yeah.
So last night there was quite a pickup during the first part of the evening, and then the venue sort of went quiet. It dropped down against expectations. Earlier we spoke to Dean and he said they were well on target for a ton, but during the last 6 hours of the night it slowed down. What is happening at the venue? Why does it sometimes do that?
We still can't say. We really can't say. If you have a look, all the pegs, all the anglers during the night, the averages which they've caught, the amount of times, it's exactly the same. So if the fish, we don't know if the fish are moving to different areas, if they are upper in the water columns, we don't get them onto the feed. We still have to sort that part out. We haven't sorted it out yet.
Did you get to a plan to activate them quicker in the morning? Is there something that you did different?
We have, for sure. We've seen now as soon as we can start putting feed in and the correct feed at the right areas, we get them in the mornings, for sure. But during the day, during the evening or at night, it's a struggle.
There's been a couple of questions about zig rigs and the effect of zig rigs, and we've spoken and showed our viewers how it works. Now, what we've seen on this specific peg is that the hookup rate and the success, the fish are there, they are feeding, they're coming in. There's been a bit of chaos here because there's like 4 rods going, but the hookup rate on the zig rig is significantly less. Why is that, and what are the things that an angler can do different to get a better hookup rate on a zig?
So we know a zig rig is a European rig, which is a specialized rig. The way you set it up with your lead system and so forth really makes a difference. The hooks you use, the floats, everything. And the other thing is, because the fish are so used to pellets and stuff here, they really go on the frenzy and just like nip at everything and try and swallow it. And I think that sometimes also can ensure that the hook doesn't perhaps set properly. It's on the sides of the mouth or something.
Okay, so it's actually the speed and the activity of the fish
that's one of our challenges.
Does it. Okay, so it's not that slow really eating it. It's because they are following the pellets.
They are
because there's pellets on the tops and other pellets coming down. Okay.
They're literally just grabbing to anything moving, and then because there's so much competition around them with the other fish, they literally just the first thing they can get to if they want to get it.
Carl, in 3 of the zones, South Africa is controlling quite well, but in C zone it's a bit of a seesaw. They are within 10, 12 kilos all the time. Then the one team is ahead, then the others. What is happening there, and have you got a plan for that?
So we knew from the start sea-zone is going to be a challenge, because sea-zone is used or known as a area with younger fish. So you'll have to make a plan there to start getting into bigger fish. And so far the whole tournament it's been a challenge. So we're going to adapt our baiting strategy for today and feeding up until the end to see if we can get more bigger fish constantly on the feed.
On the first pigs with Johan, and they have had a problem with barbel. Have they sorted that out, or is that still a problem?
Sorry, I haven't been there yet this morning, so I'm on my way down there to see what's going on. But if it's a barber problem, there is things we can do to go around it. So we'll definitely work on that today and to see if we can get it sorted.
Well, good luck. We're going to watch that sea zone closely today, and we might get you in for a bit of commentary later this afternoon to recap for us.
Thank you.
But good luck. So far your team doing extremely well.
Yeah, we're
well
thankful.
done.
The guys are working extremely hard. This is a venue, as we've said before, you have to work hard for the results, and you can see that they don't have time for breakfast. I think they did breakfast and lunch at the same breakfast and dinner at the same time yesterday. So even coffee, I think the coffee we brought in yesterday.
Let me get out of the Zigrig way.
Lapis only had his coffee this morning. We brought it in yesterday.
Oh, thank you, Cole. Thank you
Thank
to our
you so
viewers.
much.
We're going to sign off now. Thank you, FK Specimen, for making this slot available to our viewers to watch. We value your inputs. Keep those comments coming. And okay, there's a question coming through here that I would like to answer. There's a comment that says Dean and his pegmate are working so well together. Well-oiled machine. It's like watching poetry in motion. Okay, guys, while you are there, you are being complimented on air, saying you are poetry in motion.
Thank you.
So well done.
You notice there's not much speaking going on the pig. Left.
Okay, and that's the Zigrig that has just been caught. Okay, so there's a specific thing. There's 3 in a row now that they didn't hook up on that Zigrig. So we're going to leave them. The officials are here to weigh. So we're going to get off the peg and we're going to take you to see what happens on sea-zone.
Okay, môre julle.
Môre.
Kan ek?
Ja.
Ja, nie dankie.
I've just made it smaller now.